Velkommen alle sammen, og veldig god jul. So this today is the real original Yule, or Christmas. The modern Yule was last month, of course, but the ancient Yule that was celebrated in pagan times was the first full moon after the solstice. So that brings us to today by the time this video gets released, and I hope you all had a wonderful time. And today I'm going to share with you a little recipe. So we actually don't know that much about the real recipes from Viking times and before, but we do know a couple things. The most detailed description of Yule comes in Haakon the Good's Saga. Now there are many sources that say this, but this one has the most detailed. Vikings would let the boar in, and they would pet the boar, put their hand on it, and swear an oath, and then they would sacrifice the boar, do their pagan blot, and then they would cook the boar, and they cooked it by boiling. So that is what I am going to do today, what I'm showing you here. So this recipe is kind of reconstructed. We don't know the exact recipe, but we know that they boiled the pork, and we know that they would have, had access to the ingredients that they would have had access to with the technology of the times. First, you boil some water and you put a cup of salt in there. I know it sounds like a lot, but really it's not going to taste that strong. A lot of people, when they do boiled ribs like this, they put sugar in it, like quite a bit of sugar. I didn't put that much this time just because sugar wasn't imported to Europe until much after the Viking Age, but there you go. Then you bring that water to a boil to make sure the salt is dissolved. Then it's time for the spices. Now I'm using a garlic and an onion here. Now this is for very good reason. As you know, in Scandinavia, there is not much growing in the wintertime, so the humans at the time would have had to use whatever things they had available to them, and that would be garlic and onion. Now these two are not native to Europe, but they actually have been used in Europe for a long time through trade, and they have been used in Scandinavia too. And the coolest thing about these two is they are harvested fairly late in the year, and if you keep them in a cool and dry place, they have a very long shelf life. So we're looking at midwinter here, they would have been available to the Norse. So you put those in, just crush up a whole garlic clove and an onion, and there you go, put that all into boil. Next comes the ribs. Now in the real actual pagan Yule, they probably put the whole pig in there to boil. They probably gutted it and put the whole pig in there. I don't have a feasting hall or a full pig to cook, so I choose my favorite part of the pig, and that is the ribs. So I'm cutting these up, and then you put it in. It's really as simple as that. Put the ribs in, and they will boil for about 30 minutes. I also put a couple spices that are native to Europe in here, like you will see here, and top that off with a little bit of pepper. And then you just let that boil for 30 minutes. And you know how we do here. While we wait, we hydrate. Then it's time to take it out. Now you can absolutely eat it like this, and I am going to, as I'm going to show you right here. But you can also sear it or bake it in the oven for a little bit after, which I'm going to do in just a second. But first I'm going to make a little wrap. So speaking a little bit about the ingredients, again, these things are all native to Europe. We don't know a lot about the breads that they use, but we do know that the Norse had some sort of flatbread, and we still have this today in Scandinavia. We call it lefse, so this is basically the closest thing that I could find in the store today. You know, the Germanic tribes and the Norse loved cheese. We were a dairy-eating people, so cheese would be one of the favorites, and I'm keeping it Germanic with the Swiss cheese here, but you can use whatever cheese you want. Then pickles. Like I said, vegetables are not growing around in Scandinavia in the wintertime. We can get them today because we have modern technology and greenhouses and preservation methods and things like that, but back in the Viking Age they did not have these things. They would have resorted to natural preservation methods. One of these is pickling, so I am eating pickles here. I love them, and this is going to end up looking like a barbecue. So you can eat that little Viking burrito if you want, just like I've done here. The alternative is you can put the ribs in the oven, and that gives it a beautiful crisp. They're already tender. If you boil these things for half an hour, they're tender and falling off the bone. If you want a little crispy on the outside, you put it in the oven on the convection or the broil or whatever, just to give that little crispy taste for about 20 minutes. And again, this they would have had access to in the Viking Age too. So this is another way of cooking them, which I am eating here, and then you can eat these ribs straight off the bone. So that's it, the authentic Viking Yule recipe. Again, we don't have a written down full-on recipe from these times, but we can use the sources that we do have, along with logic and understanding of the technology they had at the time and the native ingredients that they had access to, and then we can reconstruct some of these recipes themselves. So that is it. Let us know what you guys did for Yule. Hope you have a wonderful time and a lucky year to come. That's all for today. Vi ses nästa gång.